Testing.
Ah, there you are.
I
Hi.
figured it out.
Yeah, I think I just needed to wait for it to load or something, I
Ah.
guess.
So how's it going? How's your job? For those who don't listen to On Deck at Dusk, because Katie gave us a little update then, tell us about your job a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it's great. I feel comfortable. Today was my third day by myself,
Yeah.
and I feel like today I got to know some people like on like a different side of them because there was a lot of people that were very ornery today. And
Uh,
it was like one of those things where I'm like, they're not mad at me, they're mad at the situation,
right.
where it's like I did nothing wrong. Um, but yeah, today was kind of a weird day. But yesterday was a crazy busy day,
Yeah,
and
you kicked ass.
I'm proud to announce that I beat a clinic record. And I was like bragging about it today. And I'm like, did you hear that I beat a record? Because John is the guy that interviewed me,
Right.
and he was in the clinic today. He's like, how's it going? How was yesterday? Because they know that Tuesdays and Thursdays are the busiest days.
Okay, yeah.
So he was like wondering how yesterday went because that
Yeah.
was one of the busiest days. And I was like, oh, it was good. And I'm like, it was really busy. I said, and I beat the clinic record. He's like, did you? And I'm like, yeah. And I told him, he's like, wow, that's great. And then he's like, I'm probably going to need you in Tooele. And let me ask you this, is it a bad sign that a lot of people have quit in the last month there?
I feel like it comes in waves sometimes. Like I've witnessed that like if senior people that you feel comfortable with or that you know, make going to work less workish,
Right,
if
right.
they leave, then it's harder to stay. Not that the job itself is bad, but the just that like
Like
your
a new
people are
journey.
gone. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are leaving. Like I keep hearing like, oh, that's so and so, but her last day is next week, or that's so and so, but their last day is. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
and like they're like super short-handed. Like even today, like my last X-ray was at like 2 o'clock, and so I had 3 hours where I could have just gone home, but I'm like, I should probably stay here in case somebody gets added to the schedule who needs an X-ray or something.
Right.
But um, I just like walked around. And I'm like, do you guys need help? And they were like frantically rooming patients and like drawing blood and doing
Yeah.
all the clinic stuff. And I'm like, I am an MA. I can like do stuff. So I
Yeah.
did. I jumped in. I did blood work and I did. I roomed a couple of patients and that's really it.
Mm.
But I kept asking, I'm like, do you guys need help? Like, or and I got a patient some water. But like, just those things like take you away from
Yeah.
the important things. So I was just like, do you guys need help? And I think that really impressed the doctor
Oh,
because
good.
he was like, oh, really? Like you can do that? I'm like, yeah, like I can draw blood, I can room patients and no, and I can do X-rays. He's like, wow, you can do all the above. That's so impressive. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah, grab
that's
me
a good
anytime.
sign.
I know. So I'm like, whew, that's cool. So I feel really good about my position, but I'm just
Yeah.
also like nervous. I'm like, you guys seem really great, but also like, why is everybody
Like,
leaving?
is there an unsaid
Yeah,
negative? It like maybe you'll find it, but maybe you won't, because it could be something that like is that's not like a problem to you,
right.
you know?
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
I personally try not to read into it as much and just like go with it and see
Right.
for
Just have a
yourself,
fresh
because
perspective.
if anything, then there's gonna be new people that like you
Yeah.
can get to know and then kind of bond with as the new people,
Yeah, that's true.
which might be kind of nice.
That's true.
So might not be bad.
It's just socially very difficult. I've also noticed that
Uh,
I struggle sometimes. I'm like, am I weird or are they weird? Or is
Uh,
this just a weird situation and we're all just like here,
well,
you
like
know?
you're like the only X-ray tech, so it's like you're kind of like removed from because you don't have a partner type thing.
Right, right.
So it's like, okay, do I like, is there a lunchroom or like a break room or something? Like, do you have to just go and
Yeah,
sit in there and wait for someone to come and talk to you? It's like,
right.
it's
Well,
so,
I moved my computer so that like I'm not so that I am seen from the hallway. So like maybe
oh,
if like people can see me, they'll say hi, instead of me being like tucked into the corner.
right.
So
I think if you take the opportunity on the slow days to ask if they need help, like, you're
right.
gonna get to know people. And I think
Yeah.
that would be nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
let me tell you about this patient today.
Okay.
We can cut this in.
Okay.
Paste. But okay, guys, if you are a patient doing anything, get off your damn phone. Today, I had a patient who was like 80 years old, okay? And I go get him. I say, hey, are you so and so? And he's on his phone. I'm like, are you so and so? He's like, well, I better be. I'm in this room. Rude.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, be nice. Get off your phone and be nice.
Right.
But the rudeness, I'm just like, whatever. But he's on his phone. And that was bugging me. So I'm like, well, I'm Katie. I'm going to take you for an x ray. And he's still sitting there. I'm like, we're going to go into a different room to do the x ray.
Yeah.
I had to be like very clear, like,
Yeah.
get up. So he gets up, walks out, and he's just on his phone the whole time, walking and on his phone.
Yeah.
And I just walk. So we get into the x ray room, and I'm like, okay, I just want to verify, is this your name and date of birth? He's like, better be. I'm like, okay. So I close the door and I say, okay, I'm going to have you, because it's a chest x ray. Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to have you put your chest up against the box. And he's on his phone, not responding to me or anything. He's just on his phone.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to have you walk over here and put your chest against the box. So I'm like, maybe he's really old and can't hear me. So
Right.
I'm talking loud and clear.
Right.
Still on his phone. He's like, okay. I said, I'm going to have you put your phone over here. And I was like, kind of like mad at that point. So I'm like, he's being a jerk.
Right. Like
Like, blatantly.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, where do you think you are right now?
Right.
Anyway, so you know what he does? He's like,
What?
you're gonna make me lose my damn money. I'm playing a gambling game. And he throws his phone onto my metal cart. And I'm like, I just threw my hands up like this. I didn't say anything. I said, how about you put your chest over there against that box? I'm like, don't even.
Right. You're
And
like, you're at
it's
my place of employment and this is how I
right,
get money. So,
right. And where do you think you are? Like, it's
right.
just so weird. I'm like, either he's I was like, maybe he doesn't know how rude he's being. Like, maybe he's just one of
Right.
those people that is like, I'm always like this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then, of course, so last Friday we had that repair guy coming in to fix the x ray machine.
Uh-huh.
And when I went to go take the x ray, it goes, and I get errors. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I'm like clicking buttons. He's like, did you get it? And I'm like, mm. So it was not a good x ray, but I'm just like, I just need to get this guy out of my room. He's
Shoot.
just such a cut that
Yeah.
out.
Well,
But
I feel like
yeah,
sometimes the older people, like, you're on their time.
right.
Well, no, it's
Yeah,
not just older people, it's just like people in general. There are some people where they're like, I'm giving you my money, so you're on my time. And so
yeah.
like they're just it's like, no, how about like we're here to do a series of events to get you out
Mhm.
of here so you can get on
Right,
with your life. So let's get
right.
it done.
So we can get on with our lives.
Right. Like, let's all work together for this to just be over.
Yeah.
So I hate people like that. And it sucks because it's like a lot of the time it's when you're trying to get something done and they're like
Hmm.
making it so much harder because it's like,
Yeah.
I'm doing something more important than whatever you're trying to do, even though this is a place of business. This is a medical office, but
Right.
my stuff's more important.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah,
It was
that's
just
so
so
annoying.
rude. And I was just like shocked. And then we can cut this out. But like that same patient, when I went back to go ask them for help, was like towards the end of that guy's visit.
Uh,
and he was getting his blood drawn, and I heard him like screaming in the room, but I was like, maybe he's joking.
Yeah.
Like he's very eccentric. I don't know, but then it was like quiet for a second, and then he like opens the door aggressively and like goes to walk out, and he walks past me like, oh, did they hurt? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I'm never coming back here again. I'm just like, okay. He's like, I'm gonna go. Oh, he's like, I'm never coming back here again. I'm gonna go tell my friend what you guys did to me. And I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know what he meant. And then I asked the girls, I'm like, how'd the blood draw go? And they're like, yeah, he freaked out, and he wasn't he because I heard him say, no, I'm not ready, or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And they're like, yeah, he was just panicking over it and like acting like we were trying to hurt him when it was part of your routine care. I think he's just
Huh.
senile.
It's like, how are you not in a home already?
Yeah.
You
Right.
know?
Is that your friend? Like your ride? Like back to the care center? Like they didn't even want to come in with you? So you
Right.
embarrass them that bad?
Oh
Jeez.
gosh, people. That sucks. That
Yeah,
would
so I'm
not,
dealing with the public again. That sucks.
I
No
don't,
offense.
I don't, I'm just dealing with people now and I hate it. But
Yeah.
no, I don't like people. I'm with you. It's stupid.
uh, but the job's great.
I'm glad. I'm glad it's going well
Yeah.
because that's, it'd suck to have your first jump back into society to be horrible.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. No, really though. Because there was a worst case scenario, and that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, so
So
hopefully never.
yeah, and hopefully never.
Ugh. Freaking jobs,
Anyway,
coworkers, blech,
yeah. Ugh,
people, blech.
yeah. How are you? What are you up to?
I'm good. I'm planning the kids' party this weekend, which I
Yeah.
feel like I'm stressing because there's a lot to do and there's people coming to my house and we can't be outside. So I
That's hard.
like, and we fill up a lot of space. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be fun though. The boys will enjoy it, and
Hmm.
I don't think I've said it on the pod yet, but I'm just nervous that our dog is gonna die at a very inconvenient time.
Mm.
You know what I'm
Well, the
saying?
last time you had a big sleepover,
Josh
Josh
almost
almost
died.
died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have
So we
you
don't want
told?
to
Have we
repeat of
talked
that.
about Josh's almost death experience? His
I don't know if we
kidney?
have.
Wasn't it his kidney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have. But yeah, so Josh, it was like 2019, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2019 because it was right before COVID, I think.
Hmm.
Or let's see, it was December of 2019, and Josh, or maybe November, either way, had a sleepover with my niece and nephew over at my house. And Josh just randomly collapses and starts screaming. And as he's going to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happening? He's like, I think I'm dying because I had kids at my house. Like
Yeah.
we didn't want to pile into a car and go
Right.
to the ER. And now I'm thinking like driven, I should have called someone to come
Hmm.
take care of the kids while I went to the ER with Josh. But because we're 20 minutes away from whoever can come, and
Hmm.
it seemed kind of like more of an urgent thing,
Hmm.
he's like, no, I'm okay. I can make it to the ER. So like the pain would come in waves, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so he goes to the ER and his they're doing like his I guess I mean, well, maybe I'll take this out. I don't know. Josh doesn't care, but not everyone wants to know about his nuts, but one of his nuts was like huge, like the size of like a softball, huge.
Wow.
And so they're like, that's not normal. So he gets to the ER and he's
Well,
like,
he
I
had to have
know.
felt that walk-in, right?
Like it would swell and then like go down and then swell and then go
Oh.
down, but this time it was like way bigger
Oh.
than normal. And so they did like what are they called? what are they called when you do
Like an
imaging?
ultrasound.
Ultrasound. They did an ultrasound on it, and then they did like other like they did a CT scan and other stuff, and then they eventually found out that his ureter was routed wrong. So like it went through one of his testicles and then like into his kidney. So like he was like,
He was just born that way.
yeah.
Nobody ever saw that.
Well, when he like so apparently when he was in the womb, they were
Uh-huh.
like one of his kidneys is kind of small. And
Oh.
they never looked into it. It was never a thing. I
Huh.
mean, he was born in 92. It just wasn't a big deal, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's been
Like I just
living,
watch him.
yeah, but he's been living with it. And then, um,
Wow.
so like, it was just, I don't know, it was just crazy. So his kidney basically died, right? And
Hey, a
nice.
burrito.
I'm hoping Josh brings me some food too. Um,
I'll mute it while I'm chewing. So.
okay.
Okay.
But anyway, so he had this thing routed wrong, and I guess all the surgeons were super excited because it's super rare and you like once in a lifetime surgery to do. So his surgeon
Mm-hmm.
was like stoked that he got to do the surgery. Anyway, Josh has one kidney. It was taken out and it's fine. Everything's normal. And what's
Didn't you
weird,
say that they didn't you say they filmed it to put on YouTube or something?
they filmed it to show other doctors how to do it because
Yeah.
the surgeon was like, literally, we almost never see this. And so right after the surgery, he came to the waiting room that I was sitting in and like showed me. He's like, I'm like, I know this is weird, but I'm super excited because like I never would have been able to do this. And like this is so cool. And so he's like talking about how he gets to like share it with his peers and all this stuff. And he's like, do you want a copy? And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure my husband will want a copy. So we
Right,
have,
another home video.
yeah, so we have a home video of Josh's kidney removal. Um, which we one time made Jordan and Corey watch it with us.
What a fun dinner date.
I know it was a good double date. Anyway,
Oh, that's funny.
so it's fine. But now we have a dog. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had him. So Josh's dog, Gumby, I guess he's mine too, but we fight a lot. Anyways, um, he's like 13, 12 or 13, and Josh got him when he was 18. And he's kind of showing age. Like you can see like his legs are quivering because he probably has arthritis.
He has old man whiskers.
Yeah, he's gray and he's freaking sassy. And just recently he started just like he's never pooped in the house. Never. And
Really?
so all of a sudden, even when I'm home and like around, he poops in the house. And I'm like, this has never happened. And
Mm-hmm.
so other stuff was happening. Oh, he was like throwing up a lot, like often, like 2 or 3 times a day and a lot. So I'm like, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So Josh takes him to the vet and they do blood work and an x-ray, which is freaking expensive for pets, especially because who has pet insurance? That's just crazy. But
I do.
I've thought about it. Um, well, and our
Well,
dogs are
actually, that's
old,
not
so
true. We have, it's called a care credit. So
uh-huh.
it's like a credit card for dog care.
Oh,
So it's like if something were to come up, we can put it on credit and make payments on it.
oh, okay, that's cool
So, and it's specifically for
for
pet.
pet
Yeah.
stuff. Gotcha.
That we got that when Jazzy died. So
Oh, yeah, because
that was expensive.
that's a very expensive pet visit.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so the x-ray, I guess it showed that there on his kidney there's a mass, which I'm like, how weird is it that Josh had a kidney thing
Mm-hmm.
and now his dog has a kidney
Is
thing?
it the same kidney?
Oh,
Like
I
the
don't
same
know.
side?
I don't think Josh got like a copy of the x-ray or anything.
Oh.
But yeah, so you know, he has a huge mass on his kidney, and they're like, well, we could operate, but we don't know if it's spread. And we're like, oh, that just kind of tells us what we knew was eventually coming because he's shown his age, right? So it
Oh, poor
sucks,
puppy.
but he's like, we can't, the hard thing is you can't tell if he's in a lot of pain. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, like it's really weird because I feel like like the shaky legs, you can tell that he like is uncomfortable, but I can't tell if
Mm-hmm.
he's like miserable. You know what I mean?
Does he wag his tail?
Yeah, like he acts totally
Yeah.
normal. He'll run up and down the stairs. He gets up on the couch. And so I'm like, okay, if he wouldn't do that, I feel like I'd be more worried.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, if we notice that he's like not responding or
Right.
whatever,
Like
but
if he's noticeably miserable, like
right.
quality of life has gone down kind of thing.
Yeah, so I feel like I'm just crossing my fingers that it doesn't happen on its own during like a celebration of sorts because that would be traumatizing for the children. Because of how awful. But I'm a little worried about it happening on its own because Axel said that he doesn't want to come home and find out it happened while he was gone, which I'm like, oh, poor boy.
Oh,
I feel so bad. But
that's
so
so sad.
we don't really get to choose unless we know he's in pain, then we can like make sure that he's comfortable and goes peacefully. But sometimes the things like that just happen when they're supposed to happen. And so he's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if it were to happen when he wasn't home, I think he would be pretty
Like just
upset.
like you said.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we're crossing our fingers that at least it's like a peaceful situation, whether it's
mm-hmm.
naturally or he has to be put down. So sorry
Mm-hmm.
to like cause a bummer episode, but
No,
yeah,
it's
that's
okay.
what's going on. What's
Sorry,
happening?
did you hear that?
Yeah. Are the dogs
Philly's,
playing?
yeah, they're right above me, and Philly just barked.
I can hear the scratching of his feet.
Yeah, that's how loud it is.
Wow. They're running around.
Uh-huh. Right above me. Because there's no insulation. Like it's purely just plywood and then the flooring. Like I can see the
Oh, wow.
plywood right there. Like there's no buffer.
I wonder if ours does. I don't think ours does, but there's like space in between.
Yeah. There's probably 10 inches of space.
Huh.
No insulation.
Oh,
Okay, I
that's
think they're
fine.
done.
Okay. You're like dicing Mitch, like make them stop moving.
Right. Seriously.
But
Um,
yeah, so that's going on.
I'm sorry to hear that. Are
That's all
you, I
right.
mean, like, if, if, okay, I'll say this. How about when we get there, we'll evaluate how he is. If you're like, oh, he looks like he's in pain, like he's going downhill quick, then
Hmm.
maybe we'll just have it be a short night.
But yeah, I'll let you know. I think we may consider sending him to the Bennetts for the night so that he's not like stressed out and like, you
That's
know.
probably a good idea. Yeah. Man, I hope if anything, it's just peaceful, right?
Yeah, we're crossing our fingers. Everyone send good dog heaven vibes, I guess, to
Yeah.
Gubby.
Well
He'll
wishes.
Yeah, he'll be fine.
He'll be
It'll work out. I just don't know what I'm doing. This is the
fine.
hard part of pet ownership that I don't
Yeah.
like. Anyways,
Anyways, welcome to episode 42. This is Hot and Cold, brought to you by Katie, and
April.
we are sisters. We are hosts. This is your favorite podcast. Even though it's not the best one, it's your favorite one. Welcome.
At least somebody's
Young and old, new and not new.
aged.
I was gonna say young and old and new and old, but I'm like, that's
Young and
lame.
old, new and aged, new and experienced listeners.
Wisdom.
Thank you for being here. and we are bringing to you stories of murder.
And ghosts
Ooh.
in Utah.
Ooh. Utah.
People
People
work
working together.
together.
Utah. What
With
a
it,
great
great
place
place
to
to
be.
be. We can go
Go anywhere.
anywhere, and there's none that compare. This
This
is
is the
the
place.
place.
Well,
Wow, that's like second grade knowledge.
second grade. I don't know if they learn that song anymore.
No, they're probably like, this is so
I
stupid.
know.
The teachers are probably like, not this again.
I know. But guess what? It stuck with me forever. Stuck.
Stuck.
Yeah. It stuck with me forever. And now it's just always in my brain
Yep.
anytime someone says Utah. But
Especially when they're like thinking about Utah, they're like, Utah. And I'm like, people working
burgers.
together. Anyway, it's kind of like
Anyway,
when people are like, oh, you're like, say, can you
you
see?
see? It's
uh,
true, huh?
I'm that person.
Yeah. Like finish your sentence with a song.
Right. Yep.
Always.
Always.
Oh, anywho's.
Tell us
Um,
a true crime story in Utah, April.
okay, it's short. It's a little itty bitty one, but
That's
it
okay.
happened, so I'll tell you about it. Okay, let's see. On July 20th, 2019, just before midnight, police were called to a Holiday Oil gas station in West Valley City on 3086 South and 2700 West. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and at this gas station, the clerk called police because a 15-year-old boy entered the gas station with a gunshot wound to his right shoulder and a neck wound where a bullet grazed his neck.
Oh my gosh.
Shortly after the police got to the Holiday gas station, another car pulled up driven by a man with 34-year-old Angela Montoya, who had a gunshot wound to her head. Yeah. Paramedics were already there and began life-saving measures on Angela, but she was pronounced dead at the scene.
Like, was she dead in the car?
Yeah,
Wow.
she was shot in the temple. Um, Nearby, around the same time, police got another call from someone at a different gas station in West Valley City, um, on 3500 South and 3200 West. I think that's by Valley Fair Mall.
Yeah.
And
That's
this
just like
person,
just up and around the corner from that other gas station.
right, like just down the street.
Right.
But this person said that, they're frantic and saying that someone is chasing them. So
Oh my gosh.
officers respond to the call and found Jason Chase, 38 years old, who told police he was being chased by people, and he told officers that he had a gun but discarded it in a construction site nearby.
Why would
Um,
he do that if he's being chased?
I think he was on drugs.
Okay.
So, so I don't know if anyone was chasing him or if his mind was chasing him, if you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Got
I
it.
might cut that out because that was stupid. Okay. Anyways, so Jason Chase was arrested and brought back to the police station for questioning. He immediately was physically challenging and cantankerous, which I've never used that word before, but it was in the article.
Like
So,
the education I had today.
yeah. Yeah.
I would
So
maybe it's the same person.
maybe. Probably not. I don't think so.
Okay.
Because this, anyways. Okay. So he was cantankerous and physically challenging to a detective asking him questions about.
Cantankerous. Did you look up that word?
I think it just means like hostile and like ornery.
Oh,
Like he's kind of a dick.
like
I think.
cantankerous.
Cantankerous. All right, let's look it up.
It sounds like kinker
Make her
and
sore.
and and
Bad-tempered, argumentative, and uncooperative.
oh,
So he's being a dick, is what they're saying.
okay.
And in a more interesting way. Okay, anyways.
And more
When the
creative.
detective what?
Nah, go ahead.
Okay. When the detective told him he wanted to interview him about his call to 911, he told them, quote, I wish for a lawyer and to just book me in jail.
What?
So he's like, I want a lawyer and just book me into jail.
The guy that was being chased
Yeah.
and tossed his gun.
Yeah.
So
He called 911
he
on
calls nine.
himself.
Okay, hold on. He calls 911 on himself.
Uh-huh.
They show up. And they're like, "What happened?" And he's like, "I was just being chased, but I threw my gun away. But you should take me into jail, and I want a lawyer."
Right.
That's what happened.
That's what happened.
Okay, just making sure.
I mean, it doesn't make sense. And probably won't. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway,
And those cops are like, "Okay."
but not only that, he also proceeded to make incriminating statements that led police to believe he knew what happened to the 50-year-old boy and Angela Montoya that had been killed.
Oh,
So he tried to then tell police that the 15-year-old boy was the one who shot Angela.
really?
Yes. So he's
Okay.
being chased.
Yeah, I'm just
And
trying to
then
put his pieces together. Like, what
yeah.
the?
So
Okay.
in Jason's mind, he's being chased. 911, come save me. But also I threw my gun at a construction site. But also down the street, you know where all the other police guys are? I was there, but it wasn't me. But I want a lawyer. And just take
And
me
you
to
should just take me.
yeah,
Wow.
I know.
Is
He gave them all the information like immediately. Like it's not funny because someone died, but like also
no.
this guy's logic is what's hilarious.
Don't do drugs. Stay in school.
Yeah. Stay in school to know how to tell a good lie. Just kidding.
Right? Or like just like learn how to like
Make better
shut your mouth.
decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like oh my gosh.
Right.
What?
Have you ever been interrogated by your parents? Don't say a word. They'll give
Right.
up eventually.
Right. Yeah. Or they'll just send you to your room, which perfect.
Which, I mean, yeah, we're sending this Jason Chase guy right to jail. Anyways, okay.
Oh man.
So Jason Chase was not a stranger to the legal system. He had a lengthy criminal record for criminal history in Utah. He has a history of theft, attempted theft, drug possession, and he also had something, I mean, also if he actually had something to do with these shootings, he's tacking on like murder charges and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Right.
So he's escalated his criminal experience, I guess. So apparently that night, as they're putting the pieces together,
Hmm.
Angela, who's 34, Jason Chase, who was 38, and then there was another woman driving the car.
Hmm.
Okay, so they're in a car. Did I tell
Yeah.
you that? Okay, they're in
Yeah.
a car.
Yeah.
The back seat, 15-year-old boy, Angela, Jason Chase, and then in the front, driving is an unnamed woman, and then in the passenger seat is an unnamed woman. Um, and what they were driving a green Cadillac through West Valley on 2700 West. All of a sudden, who knows what happened, but the unnamed passenger in the front seat told police that she heard popping noises in the back. And for some reason, Chase got upset. Who knows by what, if he was on drugs or if Angela, like, said something to make him mad or if, she rejected him or like maybe she owed him money. Like, we literally don't know.
Yeah.
But he got upset and he shot her in the head and fired a few more times in the car, in which the 15-year-old boy ended up with a gunshot wound to his shoulder. The driver
Yeah.
had a gunshot wound to her shoulder, and they both had bullet grazes on their necks.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's just firing randomly in the car. So the
Lucky that
driver,
they survived.
right. The driver stopped the car, and Chase and the 15-year-old boy both got out of the car and ran in opposite directions. But Angela's in the back seat, right, still, and
Hmm.
probably already dead.
Yeah.
And the woman driver, she knew that she was wounded, and so she just drives to her home nearby and then gets out and then tells a man at her house, says, "I need help, like, help me." And the man gets in the car and takes Angela to go get help. So he's
Yeah.
like, "I'll take her. I'll take care of this. You know."
I was
So like,
wondering, I'm like, did you see a man pulled up with a woman in the front seat? So, okay.
right. It's
As
like
a
a weird
man.
exchange happened. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't involved in the situation, but he took over the driving.
So he was just a neighbor, is that what you said?
I think he was at the woman's house.
Oh.
Like she went home.
Like
From
I'm
what I
like,
gathered in all the weird articles, it sounded like she went home in her
mhm.
panic and just said, "I need help." And there, Angela's in the back seat, "I need help."
Yeah.
And so the guy at her house, I don't know if they're friends, family, or roommates or
Okay.
whatever.
Gotcha.
He's like, "Okay, I got it." So he drives the car and he stops and sees at the gas station nearby that there's a police presence and paramedics
Hmm.
there,
Oh
obviously, because
yeah.
that's where the 15-year-old boy is. And
Right.
so he's like, "Oh my gosh, how convenient." So he pulls up to the cops and says, "I need help, like she's hurt." So the cops come over, the paramedics come over, and they, try
Wow.
to save her, and obviously she's pronounced dead. Um,
That's
but
crazy that they were like separated and then came back together.
right. Isn't that crazy? In like the same spot. And I think
Yeah.
it's cool that this guy who didn't even know what was happening, he was like,
Hmm.
"I don't care what's happening, but these guys can help you." And,
Right. Like
like,
quick thinking.
right. So, I like skipped all my notes because I just, okay. Um, so the 15-year-old boy and the woman, as far as I know, made a full recovery. Um, and officers so the 15-year-old boy got help obviously at the scene, and then the woman later went to the hospital and got help.
Okay.
The the police had a hard time finding her for some reason. I don't know if it's because she was hiding, because she was nervous about being in trouble. I'm
Hmm.
not sure. But she eventually got help, and as far as I know, that she made a full recovery, and officers and a police service dog searched for the gun Chase said he discarded at a construction site, but they
Yeah.
never found it.
So they
Um,
never found the gun that was used.
mm-mm,
Weird.
right. Um,
Okay.
and then so this happened in 2019. Jason's arrested and charged with aggravated murder, uh attempted aggravated murder, obstruction of justice, and possession of a dangerous weapon by a restricted person.
Hmm.
So he's charged with all these things, put into jail until his trial, right? Well, with
Right.
COVID and all the things, his trial wasn't until December 19th, 2022.
Okay.
So he spent 3 years in without a trial until this last December. And his trial lasted for 3 days. And on December 22nd, 2022, the jury deliberated for about 2.5 hours and found Jason guilty of all five counts.
Hmm.
So, again, that's the one aggravated murder, two attempted aggravated murder charges, obstruction of justice, and having a gun as a restricted person. Um,
Yep. That'll do
then,
it.
right, his sentencing was scheduled for February 2023, so just last month. At his sentencing trial, Judge Todd Shaughnessy
Hmm.
spells it's spelled very strange. Okay. Judge Todd Shaughnessy called Chase's crime a quote brutal and cold-blooded execution style murder of a young woman who did absolutely nothing to you. She simply had the misfortune of being seated next to you in that car.
All right.
Angela's family were able to speak about their daughter, sister, and niece at the sentencing hearing. They said that Angela obviously left behind 3 young boys who now have to grow up without their mom. Angela's aunt, Hope, she said that she talks to the boys about Angela as often as she can. The youngest boy, like, hardly remembers her, like,
That's so sad.
because he was so young, I know.
So the
And
15-year-old, he wasn't a son of hers?
no.
Who was he?
I don't know. A random 15-year-old boy. They
Okay,
can't
I'm sorry.
release they never released his name, obviously, because he's a minor, but they also
Yeah.
didn't say the relation
Yeah.
and, like, what they were all doing in a car together. Because that's
That's what
like,
I'm wondering.
5 strange people in a car together, but I don't know.
Because, yeah,
I
it seems like just 5 strangers in a car, but it's like obviously they knew each other somehow.
well, and it did
Unless
a
it was
lot
an
of the
Uber, you know?
right? A lot of the articles did say, like, they were familiar with each other, but Angela and Jason Chase were strangers to each other.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch
Yeah.
that before. So, like, they didn't even know each other.
No. The guy who murdered the girl, those 2 did not know each other, but the
Mm,
others were familiar with each other.
I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Super confusing, and, like, yeah, there's a whole lot of mystery still around what happened, but because I think
Mm-hmm.
it involved a minor, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really, like, talked about, and I couldn't even find the transcript of the trial either, because I feel like that would have given me more information, but
Yeah, definitely.
I couldn't find it.
Dang.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
um, Angela's mother, Cindy, said she wouldn't wish her pain even on Chase himself. She said, quote, "I have to forgive you because Angela would. The sentencing doesn't bring me any justice. There's no peace here."
Mm.
Prosecutor Brian Williams said Jace is a career criminal who's only been crime-free while incarcerated, and the court will never know what his motives were the night he shot Angela. Um, a medical
Wow.
examiner explained that even though Chase tried to blame the 15-year-old for Angela's murder, it wouldn't have been possible. The because it with all the evidence,
Mm-hmm.
it shows that the 15-year-old boy was ducking to avoid bullets, and Angela had contact wounds from the gun, indicating that Jace put the gun against her temple.
Oh my
So
gosh.
it wasn't an accident, and no one but Chase could have done it. So, prosecutor Brian Williams said, quote, "Chase knew exactly what he was doing." So I
That
think
is so scary.
can you imagine her last moments?
Yeah,
Having a gun pressed against her head?
right.
That's so terrifying.
Just somebody, like, all of a sudden, some guy tweaks out,
Yep.
has a gun.
Mhm. And I don't wanna get political, but I will say it is scary that these people, even though they're restricted persons,
Mm-hmm.
that they can get guns. Like
Right. Or ammo. Where are they getting the ammo for the guns? You
right,
know?
and it's just a underground freaking thing that there's these guns that aren't tracked or whatever, but there has to be a way that people like that and, with the recent school shooting, that people don't have access to guns that shouldn't have access to guns. It just sucks because there has to be an answer. I don't know what it would be, but there has to be a way to lock down a little bit without the other side, like, saying, "You're taking away our rights," when it's like,
Right.
"But we just want everyone to be safe." And so,
Right.
like, how can we do that? How can we find middle ground? Which I don't
You
think
know,
there's a answer to that, but
in 100 years when we had better technology, I have an idea. I don't think our
okay.
technology could do it now. But, like, what if, like, the gun had, like, a fingerprint scanner that was, like, connected to, like, an FBI database or something? And if
Mm,
you're on some kind of list, then you literally cannot pull the trigger.
that would be interesting. I feel like there would be a way though that they'd like take it apart and reassemble it where that doesn't work.
Yeah, but maybe they can make it so like if it's ever disassembled, it can't be reassembled, you know?
Yeah, or like a professional, like licensed person has to reassemble it.
Right. Or something. I don't know. Yeah.
I just feel like there has to be something to keep guns out of certain people's hands. And I don't think just saying, "Oh, you're not," like to have like the mental psychology test done on someone to say, "Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to own a gun because you're psychologically sound."
Right.
I don't think that's enough because still these guys on drugs and these guys doing crimes and
They're
these
still psychopaths. Like
they still get them.
Ted Bundy would pass that test.
Yeah, well,
You
and
know?
they still get them somehow.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
so there's no real answer.
There's still, you know, theft. Like people still steal guns and
Right. Yep.
whatever.
Yeah. So I don't think there's a real answer, but I mean, one day maybe. Um,
Bulletproof vests and bulletproof helmets.
Josh was like, maybe we should get the boys like these plates that can go in their backpacks that are bulletproof. And I'm like, it is upsetting that we even have the option to do that.
Mm-hmm.
To put a bulletproof plate into our second grader's backpack.
Right.
It is gross and upsetting that we live in a place that like that's even a possibility.
Yeah. Well, even what was it, the Tennessee shooting that just happened?
Yeah,
When I saw that, I'm like, how, what, what is it about school shootings? You know, like, why do people want to go hurt children? Like, okay, you're mad because you don't have a job, or like you don't have money, or you don't
yeah,
have fancy things, or whatever it is that's wrong with your life. How is that another innocent child's fault?
right.
Or the teachers there?
I'll never understand it.
Like, what? Like, I'm not saying that they should like go shoot up a bank or like go shoot up a whatever, but it's like, why
Why
is it,
kids?
yeah, why kids? That's so evil.
Right.
Ugh. And it's so upsetting.
Okay, let's see. Where am I in my notes? So Judge Shaughnessy acknowledged Chase's difficult background. He said, "Okay, you grew up with an alcoholic father, your mom was in jail, but the same situation is unfortunately true for many defendants who stand in this court." He said, quote, "You've shown little to no remorse. Drug use cannot begin to explain your behavior. I'm simply unable to find any mitigating factors in this case." So, like, he's like, "Yeah, I mean, people come into my court with the same backgrounds, and not everyone does what you did and shows no remorse." Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like there is something dangerous about this guy because his lack of sympathy or empathy or anything.
Right.
Um, Judge Shaughnessy sentenced Jason Chase to, let's see, for the aggravated murder charge, he got life in prison without parole. For attempted aggravated murder, he got an indeterminate term of 3 years to life in prison. For obstruction of justice and for possession of a dangerous weapon by a restricted person, he got 1 to 15 years in prison. So,
Wow.
yeah, he got a lot
He's
of
never getting out.
no. Um, I would be shocked if he was paroled. Um, Angela was described by her family as someone who would do anything for her family and friends. I guess she was going to school and like trying to better her life. She was a caring mother, daughter, sister, and friend. She was sweet, generous, and had a caring soul. She was an inspiration to many people and touched so many lives. They also asked people, instead of sending them flowers, they asked to donate to the House of Hope in honor of Angela's life. The House of Hope is a nonprofit organization that provides substance use disorder treatments, education, and prevention services to Utah families since 1946. And you can go to their website at houseofhopeut.org to make a donation or whatever. Um, Yeah. So that's my story. I mean, it was really short, but
Oh, I don't feel like it was that short, but good job.
thanks.
I just can't believe that that guy called 911 on himself.
No.
Like that
I
whole
mean,
thing.
did make their job way easier though.
I mean, yeah, they're like, thanks for locating yourself.
Yeah, someone's chasing me.
Right. You mean your conscience?
Part 2 of
Or
episode 42.
you do like, welcome back, everybody.
Yeah, lots happened in the week since
Yeah,
my story.
it's been like 3 seconds for you guys, but a
Yeah.
week for us. I'm a hot mess. Work has been just working me,
Mm-hmm.
and life has been life in me.
Yeah. It really seems to do that, doesn't it?
Yeah. And like I keep telling Mitch, I'm like, I'm just like ready to just go to work, come home, go to work, come home. But I feel like I'm working and then I'm at home, then I'm working, then I'm at home. Like there's not a lot of at home time.
Yeah, there's not a lot of chill.
Yeah, not a lot of chill.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like where's
Yeah.
the play? Like there's a lot of work and no play. Like
Yeah. Ugh.
and I had a whole
And
weekend last weekend and it's like, where did that go?
my
You know?
house.
Oh yeah, I was at your house. Only
Friday.
for like a minute. I don't know. It just
You're
I
just
can't
always
even.
busy.
Yeah, like every single minute of my day now, I'm busy and I still can't get everything done.
Ugh.
Man, I just feel so like flustered because like I feel like my attention is in so many places.
I
And once I
know.
get into a groove, it's gonna be fine. I just need to get there.
Well, and I feel like this episode can always be released like we can make an announcement and just say like things have been happening, life,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can release things late. And that's just, I mean, that's what it
Yeah,
is, and that's fine.
right,
Like there are podcasts that take a whole summer off.
right,
So it's like been able to not do that so far.
right. We've
So,
been we've been pretty good.
yeah,
And not only that, but we released 2 episodes still this last weekend,
right. Technically,
technically. So,
right.
like, if we would have released this episode, that would have been 3 in 1 weekend.
I bet no one noticed.
Yeah,
So I think we're fine.
I think we're fine too.
Yeah.
We're okay.
Yeah, everything's fine. No one cares.
Yeah, right. Right. I just need to
Well,
remember that.
yeah, and then like it doesn't help that like you have work happening and life happening and then like I lost a dog. So
Oh, we haven't even
like
talked about that yet.
well the beginning of last episode we talked about how Gumby wasn't doing so hot. So
Oh, yeah.
update, Gumby is no longer with us.
I'm so sad.
Oh, it's okay. I'm doing better. Cooper's
And how's Cooper?
he's he's okay. I can't tell if he knows, which is hard for me. Like it's hard for me to like watch him and
Mm,
like know if he's
what?
wondering what's going on,
Yeah.
where Gumby is. Because like every time we would go by the door, Cooper would act like he was going somewhere. So it's
Mm.
like, does he think we're taking him there too? I mean, you don't want to go
Oh.
there.
He's
But
like, oh,
like,
I gotta go where Gumby's going.
yeah, like, and I feel really bad, so like I don't know what to do. And I'm sure
That's
he'll get
hard.
over it eventually, and like he just never comes back.
Have you, this
But
might seem kind of weird, but have you tried talking to him about it?
yeah, it's actually really
Okay.
sad. Like we're like, Gumby's not coming home, like he's gone. But I'm like, I also don't know if you know what I'm saying.
I wonder though if you keep reminding him or saying it, he might catch your tone and be like,
Yeah,
oh, like that tone means something.
right.
I'm just guessing, but that's really sad.
It is the
That's really
saddest.
sad.
And poor Josh, like on Saturday after, like, okay, no one wants to hear this story, so I might take it out, but I had almost all my nieces and nephews over for a sleepover. And then Gumby was actually pretty normal. The first thing I noticed though, and I didn't think about it until after, but the first thing I noticed that was off was like Wyatt knocks on the door at 12 and Gumby doesn't say a word. He doesn't bark, and normally he's like, "Wah!" Even if it's my kids, he's like, "There's a sound, help."
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I noticed, but I didn't think anything of it, you know?
Just looking back, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah. Then we all go to bed, we all go to sleep, and then the kids wake me up freaking way too early. It was like 7 a.m. and they're like, "We're all awake." And I
We
was
want
like,
waffles.
yeah, and I was like, "No." So I get up and I tell the kids, "Okay, everyone go downstairs. I gotta let the dogs out." And then Gumby slowly walks, as slow as I've ever seen him walk, out the back door, and he like kind of struggles to get down the stairs. I'm like, there's something wrong. Immediately I was like, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So I went and told Josh, I'm like, he's acting weird. And Josh is in bed, of course, because he's not getting up unless he absolutely has to with all those kids there. So I was like, okay. So I go and let Gumby in, and he has a hard time getting up the stairs. And then, you know how like our back door, and then they have like their dog door just a few steps away from the back door. Well, he stops in front of the food bowl thing and just like stands there and like acts like he doesn't know the next step. Like he doesn't know what to do next. I'm like, "Are you okay? Are you hungry? Do you want to, want food?" And then so then he stops there and he waits there for a while, and I'm trying to figure out what he wants, and then he takes like 400 gulps of water. Like he just couldn't get enough water. And I was like, "Ugh, you're gonna be sick. Like, stop drinking." I was like, he throws up all the time, right? So
Yeah.
then he slowly walks to our bedroom door and he just sits there so I can't close it. And I was like, get out of my way. Cause I'm like thinking he's just being stubborn, So I'm like,
Yeah.
move so I can close the door. And usually if I like nudge his butt a little bit with my foot, he'll get up and move. He
Yeah.
wouldn't. He was like being super stubborn, and he was just like waiting there. And so Josh was like, Gumby, come here. And like he wouldn't go to Josh. He just sat there and like stared at us like, you idiots. Like I can't.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so then he's able to take a few steps forward next to like Josh's side of the bed. And Josh is still laying in bed at this point. And he just lays there and then didn't get back up. Like he was just like not okay. He kind of pooped a little while he was laying there. He threw up. So we're like, ooh. And then I was like, "Okay, everybody," to all the parents, all my siblings. I'm like, "I'm bringing your kids home early." So I won't go into the details because I know that's upsetting for people, but it was harder than I thought. Like, because we've grown up and had to put the dogs down before. Like,
Yeah.
we have known that to happen, but I don't remember ever being there and being a
Watched.
part of it. Yeah. Like, because we didn't want him to be alone. And so Josh is just a wreck, the poor guy. And like he just cried all day. I felt so bad for him. Um,
It really just puts your whole body into like an emotional shock, because like
yeah.
it's coming. You feel
Hmm.
like you prepared yourself like the moment you even got him as a puppy, you've
Yeah.
been preparing yourself like, hey, in like about
One
12 to
day.
15 years
Right.
or whatever.
Well, and we've been talking about it because he's like, he turned 13, so we kind of knew it was coming. And then we got the diagnosis of his mass on his kidneys. So we're like, okay, it's coming. We just don't know when. But it did not help. Like, I feel like it would have helped. It helped in the way that we knew it was coming. So I think it wasn't such a shock. It was just sad.
Like
You
you're
know what I
you were
mean?
you were watching for something at
Yeah.
least
And I was
instead of just being like, oh wait, what?
Yeah. Well, and I was glad for that because then I knew once we saw something off and he wasn't acting normal, we knew. And the only way we knew is because we randomly got x-rays. Like that's the only way we would have known. And then a week later, like it's just
Right.
insane
That
how
was
like
quick.
and he was acting so normal and then it just happened, which we think it might have ruptured, which is the same as Maisie.
Oh,
Anyways, sad
it'll be
stuff.
fine.
We're not complete over here, but we're working through it
Yeah,
a little
it's
bit at a
okay.
time.
We're both hot messes
Yeah. It's
for
just
different
literally
reasons.
we are a hot mess,
Yeah.
and so we need some grace.
Hmm.
Fair, I think.
And compassion and patience.
Yeah. So sorry we had to do a second intro because we've had
Yeah.
so much going on.
Right.
But do you want to tell a story?
Yeah. I'm covering the Cottonwood Papermill,
Haha. What is
aka, oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
what?
I was
No, go, you go ahead.
I was
Go
just
ahead.
trying to think of that song by in the office that Daryl writes. Paper people.
I think at one point I had that as a ringtone.
Sorry, say that again.
At one point, I think I had that as a ringtone.
Did you?
I think I did like a long, like when back when we had the jukes. Remember those phones that we
Oh,
had?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. I'm like, what is this cord to? I
What is
thought it was
it?
to my mic, but it's my phone charger. But I was like,
Oh.
oh no. Sorry.
Could
Okay, go ahead.
you imagine if your mic was unplugged this whole time? But then again, how would I be able to hear you?
Probably through my computer.
Oh yeah, well you sound great. So
Good.
all right. So the Cottonwood Papermill, aka, gosh, this is where you interrupted me, like right after I said that. Okay,
Sorry.
aka the old mill and aka the haunted old mill.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Are all the ghost
Located.
sheets of paper? You know?
No, but we should definitely do something with
Yeah,
that.
right? I'm trying to find like a blank piece of paper, but it just like wiggles in the air.
Oh yeah, like the sound.
Yeah.
So, it's located at 6900 South Big Cottonwood Canyon Road in Cottonwood Heights, Utah.
Hmm. I don't know if I've seen it.
You can't see it from like anywhere, but when you go on this little back road, that's kind of like a little, it's kind of like a front runner kind of road. Is that what it's called? Front runner? No,
Frontage.
frontage road. Yeah, it's like kind of like next to the freeway, but it's not. I don't know. Anyway, it follows the freeway, but you don't see it from the freeway because there's
I
like a bunch
see.
of
Okay.
trees, and it winds all the way to the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon to like that 7-Eleven that's right there.
Hmm.
And between my work and that 7-Eleven is the Cottonwood Paper Mill. And it's
Oh.
so cool because you can't see it from anywhere unless you're driving on that road. And then you see it on the side of the road and you're like, oh shit, that's it. And then you just keep going. Like
Weird.
it is the coolest thing. Like it's so secluded from everything nearby that like it's in its own little forest of trees.
That's so cool.
It's really cool.
Well, you wish it was something cooler, not like a paper mill, but like something
Right.
something little.
Oh, it's cool looking. You should look up what it looks like. I guess I could have sent you pictures, but it looks like a castle.
Ooh, that's cool looking. It does look like a castle. Why is it so fancy? I mean, it's not fancy like a castle.
Right.
It's like a
But the
brick
materials.
castle. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you about it.
Okay.
But one thing I wanted to tell you about, like the drive to the Cottonwood paper mill, is
Hmm.
I was just driving to 7-Eleven when I took that road. But when I was driving, I'm like, this is kind of like a, like in my head, I thought like this would be really spooky in the fall, like this windy road with the trees and stuff. And then
Yeah.
I saw the mill and I'm like, oh shit, like that's it, you know? But then when I was doing my research is when I read this part that one of the most common experiences people have when they're driving to the paper mill is having a feeling of uneasiness and like feeling like unsettled. And I'm like, it's
Interesting.
interesting that I thought, oh, this would be really spooky in the fall, you know?
Yeah.
And like it was like wintry, you know, like just snowy. So it didn't feel spooky. But I was like, huh, that's interesting that I kind of had that same, I guess not really feeling, just thought.
Hmm.
So the mill has been empty and abandoned for decades, and the erosion and the bricks really show its current condition and especially its age. And like many haunted places, this location has an interesting history.
Ooh.
So the construction of the mill began in 1881. The mill was designed by an engineer architect named Henry Grow. The construction was completed in 1884, and the mill was named the Deseret News Papermill, owned by the Deseret News Company, which is still a news outlet today and still owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The mill was 3 stories high, plus a basement, and it sat on a 110-acre lot. So it was a kind of like a small but tall building on a very large piece of land, right at the base of the canyon. So just imagine back in the 1800s how cool that was.
Yeah.
Before we ruined it. Oh.
As we do.
As we do, right. So it had a machine room, it had an engine room, a rotary boiler room, a chemical room, a cutting room, a rag room, and there were a lot more. But those are the names that I found in all the articles that I read.
Awesome.
Interestingly enough, parts of the mill were built using leftover materials from the LDS temple in Salt Lake City. So that's probably
Really?
why it looks fancy dancy, because it's like temple material.
Like temple bricks?
Yeah, I
Oh,
think.
wow.
Yeah, like yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. Also, it was originally powered by a water wheel.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to put it in my notes. Oh, it's in my handwritten notes. So let me just free ball it off the top of my head.
Okay.
This part is I read that like how because okay, so this paper mill, they really just made paper and sold it. They were also like I think they were I don't know if that's where they printed the newspapers, but at least that's where they got the paper for the newspapers. So people could go there to buy paper, paper, um, books, notebooks, notepads, like anything paper. Like it's like the Office Max of the 1800s.
Okay.
So, yeah. But one thing that was really cool is like I read an article about how they made the paper, and they got logs from the woods, brought them into the town, into the mill, grinded them up into bits and powder, put it in water, and made like a pulpy, woody paste, and then put those into molds, let them dry, and voila, paper.
I've seen someone do that.
I've seen it too on TikTok.
Yeah, it's
Like it was like, oh,
fascinating.
here's how you recycle paper or something, and I'm like, oh. But I want to
Fascinating.
know, how do they make it white? Bleach? Excuse me. Like, do they
I
use
mean,
bleach?
I don't know. Like, how do they make it so white
Yeah,
and not like an off-white?
right. Because when I saw that, it was like a grayish brown color.
Right.
So what do they
So,
do?
what's going on?
Just choked on my okay. So
Nice.
thanks.
Get it out of your system. Take a drink.
Whatever. Okay, let's get it.
You're gonna run out of dew. You're gonna have to call the kids for another one.
Yeah, I think this is the last one though. So it's
Oh,
water
that's
after
the
this.
worst.
Every sip counts.
Don't waste it.
So yeah, that's how they made paper.
That's cool.
Yeah. So by 1892, Deseret News found that the mill was too costly to keep it going. So they decided to put it up for sale. And it was bought that same year by the Granite Papermill Company. And shortly after they gained ownership, the mill had its first tragedy.
No.
It was on April 1st of 1893.
Full of tragedies, April 1st is.
I know. And I'm like, that This is why I wanted us to release this episode on April 2nd. So I'm just like, oh, April 1st. But no, it's April 5th now. It's too late. Too late to be great. So it was April 1st of 1893, 3 a.m. And the mill's night watchman, aka security guard, Mr. Ayers, was sleeping on the third floor.
Sleeping on the job.
That's what I kept thinking. I'm like, you're the night watchman and you're sleeping. You're not doing your job at all.
You're supposed to watch the night.
Right.
With your eyes open.
Like, I could have even gotten that job done.
Right.
So, he was awoken by the sound of, what do you think it was?
Screaming.
No. Got 2 more chances.
Grinding.
No.
Thumping.
Sleeping, grinding, and thumping.
So dirty.
Whoa.
I mean, grinding of gears, thumping of footsteps, screaming of death.
Oh, that's so funny.
No,
he was awoken by the sound of crackling, roaring flames.
Oh, it's like what crackles and roars?
I know. Your face trying to figure it out was funny. Okay. Apparently, a fire has started in one of the rooms on the 2nd floor, and Ayers quickly escaped the burning building and ran and rang the fire alarm, but sadly, the firemen thought it was an April Fool's joke, so they didn't show up very quickly, and the entire building was destroyed.
Is that why in the pictures half the building is
gone? Yeah.
They just never rebuilt it?
Yeah, no. Not really.
Interesting business choice, but okay.
Right. I'll explain partly why in a second. So
the roof is gone. Well, that's it for that.
Well, okay, I'll jump ahead and say that later on it became an open air dance club, which I'm like, you guys just got cheap and didn't want to fix the roof. Like,
you're gonna now charge people to come and dance with this place that has no roof.
Air concept.
I can do that outside in the grass.
Right. Like in the parking lot.
Right.
One variation of that burning building story is that security guard and his dog actually burned in the fire and died. That's one variation, but I couldn't find any proof. I just heard that was
how did he go back in for his dog or something?
No, like he was sleeping and then woke up to the sound of fire and then died in the fire. Yeah.
Oh, but I was gonna say, how did he sound the alarm?
Maybe like a local or something. I don't know. Because people lived nearby.
Oh, okay.
And people still do. Like there's the road it's on, there's like a hill to the south and westish area. And over that hill and on top of that hill are houses.
Rich bitches.
Yeah, super rich bitches. So all the equipment was destroyed, and most of their stockpile of paper was also destroyed.
Ugh.
Apparently, the insurance money they received after the fire didn't even come close to covering the cost of damages.
Yikes.
Another story from the mill's past is of a shooting that happened on the early morning of June 27th, 1933. And that morning, the security guard was woken up to the sound of shattering glass, as if someone had just busted open a window. So he immediately grabbed his gun and went to go look and investigate to see what was going on. And he found like a black silhouette of a young teenage boy standing in the window of this, broken window he just busted open. And so he raised his gun and said, "Hey, stop it right there. Like, throw your hands up." So the kid did. He threw his hands up. And I guess as soon as the security guard looked away or seemed like he was distracted by something, the boys turned around and started running. and the security guard just shot him in the back. And so the security guard
Oh,
then hurries and runs and calls the police. And the police show up. They take the boy to the hospital, and luckily he made a full recovery.
oh my gosh. Why would you shoot someone in the back?
Yeah, when they're running away.
Right.
So actually, he ended up suing the security guard and won. And I think it was for like 100. I don't remember exactly. I think it was at $150,000 in damages,
Wow.
which back in the 1930s, I'm sure that was a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think that's the number. I could be wrong, but
Wow.
anyway, um, from then until about 1935, the ownership was juggled around between different companies because it was kind of in shambles. Like it still worked as a paper mill, but it wasn't up and running at the capacity it was before.
Oh, so it's kind of
Um,
like not distributing enough to make it worth it.
right, like it wasn't a like prosperous. Is it the right word? Company. They just weren't lucrative at all.
Okay.
So then, um, hold on. So yeah, it bounced around from one ownership to another. And unfortunately, in July of 1935, there was another fire to the building.
What is causing these fires?
Nobody knows. There's like, I was reading like some theories. Some people said they were like, well, it could just be like the machinery got too hot and like the paper could have caught on fire, or like there could have been a spark and like the shingles were wooden, so maybe like that caught fire, or the
Mm,
paper itself caught fire from a spark,
mm.
or
Was
arson, who knows,
was it
or the
not?
devil.
Was it running at the time?
Yeah, well, not, I don't think it was at nighttime.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 3 in the morning.
Yeah,
Must be
yeah,
arson.
or the devil, because the ownership was
Mm,
like, who built it, where did it come from, what materials did they use, I think it's cursed.
probably.
So the second fire that happened in July of 1935, it was mysterious, just like the other one, but this time it was just a small fire. So like the damages were not as devastating, and there weren't any injuries that were reported. It's just something to take note of.
Hmm.
After that fire, the mill was gutted and partially reconstructed to be an open air dance club, like I mentioned before. And they called it the Old Mill Club.
Oh,
And it operated as a dance club through the 1940s and the 1950s. In the 1960s, it evolved into a club where local rock bands would perform every Friday and Saturday night, which I think would be so fun.
that would be really
Like
cool.
just a club to go listen. Do they have those? I bet they do. Like just clubs to go listen to like local bands.
Yeah,
I want to find them. I feel like that would be so fun to
it
find
would be
like
fun.
local music.
They do have them, like the Old Town Hub in American Fork tries to do them, but I
Oh
know there are
yeah.
bars that have like local bands. You just kind of have to find the ones, but there are some in Salt Lake City.
Like downtown.
Yeah.
Fun fact though, in the 1960s, it was illegal to dance on Sundays in Utah. Did you know that?
I feel like I've heard that once before, but that's hilarious. I didn't
I
know it was like real.
I didn't know that. And I read that even one night, a swarm of police officers came to the club. A swarm, a group of police
So
officers
like bees.
swarmed. They showed up with an empty bus and they tried to raid the old mill on a
Oh my
Sunday.
gosh, that is so stupid.
Right. Like,
So
could you
stupid.
imagine being a police officer at that time? They had to have all been LDS, right?
Yeah, and they're like, this is not okay. You hooligans.
Dancing on a
Yeah,
Sunday.
it's the Lord's Day. The Lord doesn't dance.
Um, I'm pretty sure he does. And like, who's to say what's dancing and what's not, you know?
Right.
Who's judging? Like, this is just how I normally move my body to
Right.
music. Who's to say it's dancing? So the old mill was declared as a historic site in 1966 and was placed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1971. Um, in the 1970s, it became a discotheque. That's how you say it. It's like a dance hall, but for disco, like pop
Mm.
music. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like do 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 do. Yeah, that. Sadly, it was in the 1970s when it was said that a security guard committed suicide in front of his wife in one of the
Oh,
rooms at the old mill.
yikes.
Yeah. And during the late 70s and early 80s, the old mill was reconstructed again and made into a Halloween haunted house attraction.
Really?
Yeah. Which that's where, like, in a lot of the comments that I saw online, people are like, oh yeah, like I know this place when I was a kid back in the 70s and 80s. We called it the old haunted mill. Cause like that's just what it was known as the haunted house attraction.
Yeah.
Like the Fear Factory now, like it was just the place to go.
Right.
So, but yeah. Um, Also during that time when it was a haunted house attraction, that's when the rumors of it being actually haunted really took flight. Like people
Mm.
were really buying into it because people were visiting. Like the act, what I think is wise because people were going there to be scared, and so like if you have that energy there, I feel like it's just gonna show up.
Yeah, you're like
You know
manifesting the vibe.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's like it could have definitely been haunted before, but I think that like if things really got kicked up as a haunted house attraction, it's because they were inviting it.
Yeah.
Because if you go through the Fear Factory, like that used to be a cement factory. Of course, that probably wasn't like feeling haunted back then,
Right.
but like all the props they have in there, like
Make
so
it that
satanic,
much
like the
scarier.
clowns and the yeah, it's just it breaks in those vibes and everything, and it's just ugh, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
So the old mill has also made a few appearances in movies, including Salt Lake City Punk, Team Alien, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, Hereditary, Bleep, and March of Dimes.
Hmm.
All right, well, let's move on to the paranormal stories.
All right.
So, over the many decades, there have been rumors circulating that the old mill is haunted, and there have been countless stories shared by locals, old staff members, and paranormal enthusiasts. And I mentioned in the beginning about the uneasy feelings that people have had while driving to the mill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some people have said that even just driving by and like looking at the mill, they've seen silhouettes of people standing in the glassless windows of the building.
Mm.
So it's like people are like, there has to be people in there, but it's completely abandoned.
Wow.
I don't know if I mentioned it's been abandoned since the 80s, and I think it was condemned by the city in like 2005.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it's
So it's like a historical
completely.
landmark, isn't it? So they
Mm-mm,
can't tear it down.
mm-mm.
Oh,
And nobody's allowed to go on the property. Like no one's allowed to go there for tours or anything, as far as I
wow.
know. And I'm pretty sure that there's even like police surveillance there. Like I don't know if they have cameras or like somebody like a security guard
Yeah.
or what, but people are like, yeah, don't even try. Like they monitor that place like crazy.
Weird.
And
Why?
you can be fined. Like there's hefty fines.
Wow.
Probably just because it's like, historical. Maybe they're
Yeah.
trying to preserve it for something later on. I
Maybe
don't know.
rebuild or something. Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's in a
Crazy.
really cool spot. So I think they should open it up and have it be something.
Right.
Like even like a wedding venue. Like what if they made it look nice? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, people just driving by have said that they've seen like silhouettes of people standing in the windows.
Mm-hmm.
There have been reports of hearing a barking dog at the mill, but a dog is never seen. So you're allowed to go like in the parking lot. You just can't go past like the gate.
Oh, okay.
So when you go there, like people have said they've gone there and like parked and just like hung out, and sometimes you'll hear a dog barking, but there's no dogs.
Weird.
Staff members back in the day, staff members back in the day, so that sometimes the doors would open and slam shut on their own. It said that even now, sometimes the lights will turn on at the old mill, but the creepy part is that there's no electricity hooked up to the building.
Whoa, that would be so crazy to see.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
People who have been there or who used to work there said that sometimes there would be mysterious cold spots throughout the building. And the weird part about them is that they were temporary and they'd move around. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, that corner is always cold for some reason. It's like
Mhm.
it was cold a minute ago, now it's not. And like
You know
now this
how
area is cold.
the Ghost Adventures or whatever had that like temperature reading thing?
Yeah,
That'd be fascinating to use.
right?
Because I've seen where they've been able to pick up like the shape
Like
of a
silhouettes.
person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that'd be
That'd be
crazy.
crazy.
Ah.
Some people have said that they've heard what sounds like a woman's voice throughout the building,
Hmm.
and some people have said that they've seen the shadow silhouette of a hanged man in the building.
Yikes.
So, like the guy who committed suicide, I
Is
wonder.
that how he did it, you think?
I didn't see any. I didn't see any like info about the how, but I
Yeah.
did read that, so I'm like maybe that's just where I put it together.
Ugh.
But like, oh,
That would be eerie to
that's
see.
disturbing.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, like that is dark.
that is dark. Yeah.
The end.
Jeez. My goodness, that is cool. I really think it's a bummer though they don't have it open to the public to be able even to just do like kind of like a museum, where you
Yeah.
can go and walk through it or something.
Oh yeah, they should do like a broadcasting museum, like a news museum.
Yeah, like do like just have a bunch of paper there. Like
Right. That reminds me. That reminds me of the episode on The Office when they go to the job fair. They're like,
Yeah,
bring one sheet of paper. And that's
that's
it.
all we'll need is one sheet of paper. And
Yeah.
then Pam goes and like picks up one. She's like this.
Yeah.
It's funny. But yeah, just have a bunch of paper.
They have to write your name down, but they only have that one paper.
Right.
Oh,
That
that's
was
so
so
funny.
funny. That was such a good show.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bummer they don't have it open because it'd be cool to have they should make it a museum. They should make it where people can do investigations just because I feel like that's where the public is now. Everyone wants to
Right.
do ghost hunts.
Yeah.
And why
And
be
they could
ashamed of
still,
it? It's a bummer they don't like you think Cottonwood Heights would like do something cool with it.
yeah, because like they
They have
have the
so
money.
much money running through that place
Yeah.
with like the canyon right there and
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Rich
Yeah.
people, taxes.
Yeah. Right.
But really, they could do something with it.
So
Ugh.
outro.
Yeah, thanks for listening to episode 42. It will get to you
Yep.
eventually. It'll
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. And I hope you liked it.
If you didn't, sorry. It took us 2 weeks to record it.
Right. Being on episode 43, I really feel like I'm gonna find my groove. April's gonna get out of her feelings. Just
Yeah,
kidding. No,
I
we're gonna
might.
be our regular selves again, I think.
We'll see. Yeah.
But yeah, episode 43 is gonna be a good one. So definitely don't let this be the last episode you listen to.
That would be a shame.
It'd be a shame. You'd miss out on episode 43 and up.
And so on.
Right. Join our Patreon for
Please
more.
do. Yeah. Hey, Patreon, if you don't know, it has bonus content sometimes. It has video content of the episodes you're listening to, but you get to see our faces. If you sign up for Patreon, you also get some merch sent to you. Merch. So that'd be cool if you want it.
Yeah, if you want it, we got it.
Yeah.
Also, make sure to leave us a 5-star review.
That'd be nice.
And if you want to tell us how you feel about this episode, comment with an emoji.
Yeah.
That's
Listen,
how we like them.
I know people didn't understand what we were asking for episode 36, so let me just explain. All we'd like is feedback in any way you're willing to give it. So that could be a review. That could be a comment on our post on Instagram. That could be a emoji emailed to us on at hauntandcold@gmail.com, or you can send us a message on Instagram. There are so many avenues to contact us and tell us how you feel.
Yeah.
I want it to be nice feelings, but if you so choose to send us negative feelings, that's fine. But we just want to hear it. We want to hear what you're thinking.
Right. Because we only get to hear what we think. And sometimes what we think isn't what we want to hear.
Yeah, right.
Or we tell ourselves
that we're doing a great job at this.
Yeah.
Not quite
we're so
reality.
good at this.
Yeah.
So good.
We don't say that very often.
Yeah, we actually don't ever say that. Wait. What am I talking about?
I don't know where this is taking a turn. I don't understand. Okay. Anyways. Patreon.
Social media.
Instagram.
Don't call us on social media. Follow us on social media.
Yes. Follow us. Like us. Share us.
And let your parents know you're listening to us. Let your spouse know that you're listening to us. Let your dog know that you're listening to us.
Or if you have some friends, you can tell them too.
Yeah. But if you don't, that's okay. Me either.
Yeah. So, we're right there with you.
Yeah. Just tell somebody that you're listening to us and say, hey,
you should also listen. To? Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. We appreciate it. Thanks in advance, buds.
Yeah.
Buds and pals. Okay.
Ready?
Okay. Okay, bye.
Bye.